Hey, welcome in the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. And as always, I am joined by my cohort, Mitch Thomas. Mitch, you needed that, right?
I did. I'm doing well. I needed that. I needed two of them, but I needed it.
Yeah, and we got some good stuff. We were chatting before we started here about good conversations we've had, with the fellas. I hope, I wish Chase and Justin a lot of success.
Yeah, don't forget Braxton.
And Braxton, absolutely.
Braxton.
No, I wasn't going to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was getting there. I know we had that there, and then I was coming back to, Braxton. It's okay. I definitely, it's interesting too, because it was Braxton Martinez came on Justin, gosh, how long ago was that? We had him in an interview when he was still, I think, with the Rascals. Yeah. He came on the show. We talked to him. I'd reached out to him. So he's been around here for a while. It's kind of interesting watching his progression and where he's at now, AA with the Angels.
Right. I agree. It happened to me too the other day. He popped up on our timeline working out of the facility. This must be 4 years ago, just so it's cool to see these dudes still grinding.
And it's interesting too. I went and looked up his stats that he was playing with Inland Empire 66ers. It was I think the high A. Man, his slash line was good.
He got after it last year, and it just goes to show because you talk about when we break out, and you see in the professional sports that sometimes they don't always get that shot because of age and the level of play that they're at. So I'm excited for him because he's obviously showed potential.
He was over 1,000 OPS, bud.
Yeah, pay attention.
His slugging was over 500. He had 333. He put up some big time numbers last year. I hope it continues for him. And that kind of shows you what, because we've talked with Shane Eames, big shout out. We're going to get Shane on some more. We're going to be talking with him quite a bit over the next and through the summer, talking about hitting. His PhD is actually working then, right?
I guess. It's showing. I just, again, going back to it, I think about these things and I'm looking at what Braxton does and Chase and Justin. Obviously, they're closer to us because we have our experiences with them.
Yeah.
But I'm paying attention because I'm waiting for their baseball cards to come out,
Oh,
so
that'd be killer, wouldn't it?
So that I can say, hey, can you sign this for me?
Right, exactly.
That's all I'm asking. Maybe a hat or two.
Come on, bro.
Yeah. I think what's cool about them is they're better guys than they are baseball players.
And Chase, Monty's been around a long time. I've known Monty in and out of baseball and whatnot, and he's always been, pleasant, like talking to Monty, good household, good families. And that's the thing. That's what you wish for. You're looking for, being back in the community at some point. And, if they get to the big leagues, I know that they're going to come back into the community either way. And I think that's a huge part of it. Yeah,
I think so too. Having Justin and Chase in the facility at times, I've watched young boys, 9, 10, 11 years old, maybe even younger, stop and watch them hit, and they stop and have conversations. They're trying to work on their craft, and yet they're still taking time for these young boys to say, hey, just this, have fun, enjoy your opportunities. And it's neat to see that even as a professional, still trying to grind through it, that they're giving back already.
We're talking here about these things, and I'm this guy. I've always wanted Youth Baseball Midwest to bring perspective, be part of the community, and really look at things from a positive standpoint and look at how we're talking about things and what we're doing. We're discussing this, and we've been talking about, we got the upcoming season. It's, right now we're recording this, but we're looking at a few weeks, couple weeks. Some tournaments have already started, right?
Yeah, some tournaments already started.
I know Game 7, they're down in Branson to start off with the St. Patty's Day weekend, and then we're hoping to be out in weather. Always.
You're going to have weather this weekend, that's for sure.
That first weekend in March. or last weekend in March at Arch Madness. Hopefully the weather holds up. We'll be out there. It'll be fun.
Yep.
Get in, start some baseball, right? That's what all the winter workout tour. We got the winter workout tour going. Want to say thanks to all the folks. Kevin Mulder with PBR Missouri allowing us at their showcase, and then Premier Baseball Academy out at your place, the Hitting Zone. We're over at Legacy Performance Academy with the fellas from brand new St. Louis Legacy Baseball. Great facility. It was a lot of fun there. And then down to Cape Girardeau, Balls and Strikes. You don't hear that much anymore, but they still have a Balls and Strikes there.
In Cape?
Yeah, Missouri.
I didn't know
it's
that.
Missouri Bulls, Todd Pennington's group.
Okay.
It's a Balls and Strikes facility that they still have, still open. They work out of there, and great time, great effort, a lot of the fun stuff. But there's what I want to talk and caution about is we've been talking about these things for some time, and Mitch and I got together here recently and we sat down. What do we want to discuss? As we're going into the season, what we're talking about here? I think there are certain things that have been, I want to bring into perspective here a little bit, because I think it's very interesting, because we talk at the high school level. You're at the high school level. You see these kids coming in. You're also at the lower levels. You got a 14 UAA squad. We see AAA teams. We see these things, and we had this discussion a while back, and a lot of people watched. If you want, we talked about, is your team AA, AAA? What does all those things mean? And I think USSSA did this a while back when they set in place this thought process. And we want you to comment below. Comment on this. We want to hear it, because I think these are the things that create some of these issues that we think we're challenged when we talk about where a kid plays, where they're at, what they're doing. What's an A team? I'll be honest, most of the players out there today probably fall in the category of an AA player, but we got to quit designating the players A and AA. That's not what the designation was only put in place for the team level to create the best possible competitive situation for a tournament, correct?
Yeah, I agree. Again, when you're 13 years old and a kid is behind, maybe he's a young 13-year-old, and so in 2 years he could be one of the better players in the area just because of development in his puberty, things like that. That happens, and so
right.
That's where I think we miss on these parents or coaches looking at a kid and going, oh, he's a single A kid, oh, he's a double A kid, and everybody gets their feelings hurt. I agree. That's the largest percentage of our athletes in this area is that. That doesn't mean they're bad.
Right.
We have to play at that competitive level that they deserve as athletes. And we have to be okay with that. Again, doesn't mean they cannot grow, because they will grow as an athlete.
We've all seen this. And if we're honest, we know it. But I've seen plenty of coaches, and I've seen them in these. It always cracks me up. I see it in some of these larger so-called prospect clubs. We have this team of just stud athletes. And I've seen it at 9U. I've seen it at 10U. I've seen it. These kids are just better than everybody else. And everybody goes, and the coach, it's, he's a good coach. No, because you watch the kid, they're just better. There's more talent. They make mistakes. They don't know how to run bases. They don't this. How are we fundamentally teaching? What are we doing? How are we setting things in motion? And I think development has been lost in the scope of trying to put super teams together so we can say we're the best. Does it really matter at 9, 10, 11, 12?
That's an interesting, perspective to look at, like super teams or things like that, or taking 6 good players from this team, 6 good players from this team, and creating a team of 12.
Shouldn't that
really
be
good.
at 14U?
I definitely think that should be older when traveling happens, or you're starting to become that next level kid when high school starts to matter. You're going to want to play that competition. But if you are the better team at 9 years old, what do you do? You know, those are always things that I struggle with because, you know, as a competitor, if I have a 9U team that was really good and we just won everything in St. Louis area, where do I go next to have challenged my athletes? Mm-hmm. Those are things I struggle with on a routine basis. So maybe it's recruiting that these guys did to have a really solid 9, 10, 11 U team. I would chase for myself. I would chase a coach who is wanting to develop and teach the game the right way versus just cherry picking all these 9-year-old kids and bringing them together to say that you're 151. It doesn't impress me at 9 years old. I do think the kids are good. And they're
I understand what you're saying. And here's the thing, you know, because we can sit and here's the perspective of this. In 2008, had the opportunity to travel with the team to Cooperstown, and I went as the umpire there, umpiring, watching the championship game. Team from Henderson, Nevada, and Team Miami. Okay, Team Miami have been flying kids. Remember, everybody knows this. Cooperstown is 12 years old. They're flying kids in and out of Albany and driving them there at 12U. This team was they were 116-0.
That's a lot of games and a lot of wins.
What cost? I don't know. I always go back to that. Now, that's an extreme, in my opinion, that's an extreme example at 12U. We've been talking a lot with high school players. We've done player spotlights now for the last probably year. And I've talked to some really good, solid athletes, some really good kids that understand what's going on, very good athletes. One of the things that's always interesting, we ask them, what's the difference between summer ball and high school baseball? And the thing that we get is the aspect of team play and how you win, scratch out wins, to showcase play. I'm just going to put my 2 innings in on the mound and go home. I'm there to hit as many bombs and doubles and run base. There's no construct of team or winning or anything of that nature in it. Do I say that's bad or this or that? No, that's just the construct of what's been put in place. And that's the way it is, because that is a situation that sets either recruiting or that you've been recruited and they want you to continue to play against top level talent.
This is interesting for me on this. I've coached college, I've coached high school, and I've coached youth. So I have a little bit of everything. And I have spent years at these, not just a couple college, just a couple high school, and just, in youth sports. I try to build a team first mentality. That's what I love about it. It's about building culture. What do you get in high school? You just talked about it, right? They have the team setting versus the individual.
They're building a program.
How do you win? How do you get to where Francis Howell has over the last 20 years, or where Fort West is doing over the last couple of years, or even us at Timberland that we're trying to build now? We're trying to build a culture. What do you have in college? You have culture. You don't have a bunch of individuals going there. Yes, you get recruited out of those showcases because they're trying to find that one.
Right.
But when we go back and we have a guy that's playing for the Canes or the Cincy Flames or Midland or something of that nature, that these are national groups that they're just cherry picking from all 50 states. It's interesting to me that how do you build that team culture when the only thing they've known is how to support themselves in the game? Now, I talked about this earlier off the air. Baseball is universal, right? You can go anywhere in the country, and the baseball is the same. It's at least at 60 feet 6 inches, 90-foot bases. It's the same. You can speak different languages and still play together and still be really competitive.
Yeah,
but that's a team setting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else we do from here on out is team, and
Let me interject this real quick and so you can finish it. Because if you're looking at that player, does a college recruiter then go look at the high school program that he's played for? You know, you got, say, a kid that's playing on a national team comes back and looks, he's been in that Francis Howell program there consistently. He knows, do they do that? I don't know.
We will recruit on the high school level, and we have recruited in the high school level, but it's something particular because, you know.
Well, I understand they're recruiting at that national level on these teams, but then do they go back and look what high school did he come from? I mean, is that a thought process within the recruiter as well? Well,
I would think so, because obviously when you go to these PBR or perfect game, events, it's just you playing with a bunch of other guys. That does give you some, as you walk in as a freshman, you're going to have to do that. So how do you interact with that group? So they're watching you in those facets. But like you said, because high school is a team game, are they going back to see what the team chemistry is built? What is the culture built? Because you might have a coach that might want to recruit that high school because of the culture. And it matches the college program.
All right, Mitch. So let's look at this, because we're talking about youth baseball here. And I think we're talking about culture, and we talk about these with the clubs quite a bit, especially in our winter workout tour. That's, building culture was a big question in this last tour stop, or this last winter workout tour. And I think I've always been interested in that thought process. What does that determine? What does that set? And what do we have a 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-old, right? And I think 13 and 14 are really those ages that kind of swing back and forth and really put that place, that situation in perspective with this thought process. How are we building these cultures? How are we setting these things in place? Whereas the development of the player, it's one thing, and I think it's great to go out and win a tournament. I have no problem with these things. I really don't. I believe you build winning by development. So what then do we set in place, and what are we putting in place of the parents? When does winning become more than the development?
That's an interesting question, and I think it's a sticky, tricky one. I'm not sure if that's
absolutely. Absolutely, it is.
We are growing. We are working. What my goal has been in the last couple of years is I want to be part of a solution, not just a bunch of guesses. I don't really have an answer to anything that you just kind of suggested, and the reason is because as a small club. Mm-hmm. It's already hard to manage the 12 different personalities of each coach having two coaches per team. So how do we get them to develop as coaches? What kind of material can I give them? What kind of development can I give that group? Well, what if that coaching staff doesn't want that because they have players playing secondary sports, or there's 2 sport athletes, and so they cannot get involved in some of the other types of development we offer. So how do you manage all of that when you have a large organization? So how can culture be built if you sometimes don't even know the names of some of your athletes?
Right.
So it's hard to preach culture if you can't even identify everybody in your program. And
right.
And by no means am I trying to say anything there to anybody that has a large organization. We're just difficult.
Talking. I think it's interesting because make no mistake, I believe that all of these programs are thinking about this. All of these clubs are thinking about these things. What do we do? How do we do? I think there are genuinely, most of the people that are there in these clubs are genuinely concerned about development of the player. Now, to what degree? How does that work? And what does development mean? What are those aspects of it? How do we bring that how are we taking this thought process and putting it into this place? Because as well as I do, then you have the parent, or you have a dad coach in that 9, 10, 11 space that may not understand how to coach. Maybe he's had some experience or whatnot, and maybe he was a really good college player, but just because you're a really good college baseball player or even professional player does not mean you know how to coach. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it. If that's the case, there's some really good football players, really good. Magic Johnson was one of the best basketball players all the time. Couldn't coach. Was not a good head coach. Knows it too.
I never saw Jordan on the sidelines. Never saw a guy like Shaq on those sidelines. And you see different kinds of role players that have made some really good, coaches. If you think about a guy like Doc Rivers, I know that he was a good player.
Yeah, he was a really good player.
But he was a good player. He wasn't that next level guy, and so he filled his role. But I just look at things like that. I obviously think every program here has the intentions, like you said. It's how much information does your coaches know?
Right.
And are they in there just because they want to be a part of your program? Are we doing enough background checks on these coaches to see their baseball IQ and how they're trying to develop and teach? And then if they don't want that, are they willing to take on somebody that is willing to help them develop as a coaching staff? Because there's still a bunch of egos involved. Whether or not you know the sport like the back of your hand, there's still ego.
Yeah.
And people still don't want to be told, what to do or how to do things. They want to do things their particular way. You're seeing that. And to me, those coaches are coaching single A teams. They're coaching double A teams. They're unrealistic with what they think they are.
Right.
And even if culture's trying to be built, how do you get the buy-in? How do you get the buy-in from the parent? Yes, I want to be a part of a organization.
Okay, that's a good question, but what is buy-in? What do you mean by buy-in? What are we buying? And that becomes, to me, the question. Are we buying a AAA team? Are we buying into being a AA team? Well, my kid, Johnny, is a AAA player. But is that really the case? And do we understand? See, I think there's different thought processes. As you've talked about with your organization, you understand your athletes and where they're at and what you're looking at. So if a parent comes to you and says, oh, no, we should be playing here, you're going to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. We're going to play here, and this is where we're at right now as a group. As these kids develop, if I see this and this, and you want to take your child somewhere where you believe that's up to you, right?
100% a parent decision. And for our buy-in that we're trying to get people to buy in, I guess, if you will. Yeah, that was terrible. But it's not the winning and losing. We know that we don't play this game to lose.
No,
that's not
nobody
the goal,
does.
right?
Nobody
So
does.
the goal is to win, but we need to identify what the future is. And I'm not talking sports. We're trying to get them to buy into leadership. We're trying to get them to buy into something way past the athletic ability and the sports.
Right.
We are building young men with character, things like that. That's what we're trying to get them to buy in. But we need the parent to buy into that. The work ethic, the things that go into it, that is why we would win.
But this is where I think it's very important that, as we talk about, there's got to be an understanding that everybody's on the same page, that we all think the same. There's a reality to that. Hey, everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
hit them where they ain't.
That's correct. And preferably, doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. I was waiting for it.
Absolutely.
I like the dinger part. I don't like to run.
We'll see you next time, guys.